Here's a move that's about to shake up Britain's art world in ways most people haven't even considered yet. After more than a century of strict limitations, the National Gallery has just made a decision that could fundamentally reshape how we experience art in London. The institution has officially scrapped its long-standing prohibition on acquiring paintings created after 1900, and they're backing this bold shift with a staggering £375 million investment that will transform the gallery forever. But here's where it gets controversial. This isn't just about expanding a collection. It's about challenging a decades-old gentleman's agreement that has quietly dictated which institution gets to showcase which periods of art history. The financial backing for this ambitious transformation comes from an impressive coalition of supporters. Michael Moritz's Crankstart Foundation has committed £150 million, while the Hans and Julia Rousing Trust has matched that contribution with another £150 million donation. The National Gallery Trust, working alongside a group of anonymous benefactors, will provide the remaining £75 million needed to bring this vision to life. This massive injection of funds will fuel Project Domani, which translates to tomorrow in Italian. A rather fitting name, don't you think? The project involves constructing an entirely new section of the gallery, positioned strategically behind the existing Sainsbury building. An architectural design competition is set to kick off this Wednesday, and if everything proceeds according to plan, visitors should be able to explore this expanded space by the early 2030s. To put this achievement in perspective, we're looking at the most significant undertaking at a major British cultural institution since Tate Modern first opened its doors to the public 25 years ago. This represents a remarkable victory for the National Gallery, especially considering how many arts organizations across the country are currently battling to secure funding for large-scale development projects. Gabriele Finaldi, who serves as the gallery's director, shared his thoughts with the BBC about maintaining the institution's distinctive character throughout this expansion. He emphasized that the new addition, which will occupy the current site of St. Vincent House, won't fundamentally alter what makes the National Gallery special. According to Finaldi, part of the gallery's enduring appeal lies in its manageable, human-sized scale that allows visitors to experience the entire collection in a single day, a refreshing contrast to the overwhelming vastness of institutions like the Louvre in Paris or Madrid's Prado Museum. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has publicly praised this development, calling it fantastic news for the National Gallery and the arts in general. He went on to highlight how this investment will boost the economy, open doors for educational experiences for young people, and make great art accessible for generations to come. And this is the part most people miss. The real game changer isn't just the new building. It's the decision to break a century-old tradition. The most divisive aspect of this announcement centers on the gallery's newfound freedom to acquire 20th-century artworks. For generations, an informal understanding between the National Gallery and Tate has governed their respective collecting territories, with Tate focusing exclusively on modern art, while the National Gallery traditionally avoided works created after 1900. When Finaldi assumed his role as director back in 2016, he openly expressed his frustration with this arbitrary 1900 cutoff point. He found it slightly frustrating to reach 1900 and then not go on, arguing that such limitations prevented the institution from telling a complete artistic story. Now, with 1900 becoming increasingly distant history, Finaldi believes that eliminating this barrier is essential for the gallery to tell the bigger story of art's evolution. Interestingly, this agreement hasn't always been strictly observed anyway. The National Gallery's collection already includes more than 40 pieces created after 1900, featuring works by legendary artists like Picasso and Cézanne. But now, with the 1900 barrier completely dissolved, the institution can pursue modern works much more aggressively. Here's where things get really interesting and potentially controversial. The gallery is positioning this policy change as a step toward addressing a glaring inequality in their collection. Out of approximately 2,300 paintings currently housed at the National Gallery, only 27 are created by women artists. By expanding into the 20th century and beyond, they hope to significantly improve this dramatic gender imbalance. Maria Bulshaw, who directs Tate, has officially endorsed this development, stating that her institution plans to collaborate closely with the National Gallery to further the national collection as a whole. However, this diplomatic response masks what could become a significant competitive challenge for Tate, particularly given their current struggle with declining visitor numbers and financial difficulties that have already forced them to implement staff reductions. But here's the question that's got everyone talking. Is this partnership rhetoric just polite public relations speak? Or will these two powerhouse institutions actually find ways to work together rather than compete for the same artworks and audiences? Think about it. When two major museums suddenly start competing for the same category of art, what happens to prices, accessibility, and the overall art market? And is it fair for the National Gallery to expand its territory when Tate is already facing such significant challenges? What's your take on this seismic shift in London's art world? Do you think breaking these long-standing agreements between institutions is a progressive move that will benefit art lovers? Or does it create unnecessary competition that could harm the broader cultural landscape? Share your perspective. Are you excited about having more options for viewing modern art? Or concerned about the potential consequences for institutions like Tate that are already struggling to stay afloat?